Listen, some of y'all ladies gonna have to settle. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but listen, everybody can't have a perfect man out here.
Glad to have you, amazing viewer. It's another exciting time. Comfort for Life Network for you. We are here for educational purposes. Thank you so much for being part of this. I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok, and listening to the stitches that were made to this video, I'm just anticipating to tell you that you'll have an amazing time. You'll have a great moment listening to how people can think differently and bring everything into synchrony and make it so amazing. Your thought matters. What do you think about this? Are women looking for perfect men to settle with? Or are women who have settled with perfect men? Or are they really settled? Those who are in a relationship right now, are they really settled? Or are they still finding out how they will settle? And my other question is this: could it be that women are now becoming a threat to men? Because this is kind of saying, lower your standard, kindly lower your standard. You won't find a perfect man. You won't find... Is there any perfect men on this earth? First, I'm just wondering, either men or women, are they perfect people? Before we analyze a lot on this, I just want you to listen to his entire thoughts so that we don't put words into his mouth that he didn't say. But
listen, some of y'all ladies gonna have to settle. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but listen, everybody can't have a perfect man out here. It ain't even enough of us around, like, let's be honest. So at the end of the day, we can go ahead and put that 50-50 conversation to rest, because every woman ain't gonna get 80-20, 100-0, whatever y'all thinking is gonna be 60-40. Some of y'all gonna have to go 50-50, and shit, y'all might gotta go 60-40 on your end with the man, just to be happy at the end of the day. Like, let's be realistic. Come on now. Somebody gonna have to settle, man. That's all I'm saying. All the straight men that's left in the world, a lot of them is in jail. A lot of them married. What do that leave left? Everybody can't have their cake and eat it too. Like, you can't have the best of the best. Sometimes you gotta just go for what you got and be happy and be grateful. Because you can have nothing at the end of the day and be miserable. Come on now. J. Cole said, love yours. I gotta take this in consideration.
This is where you have us fucked up. I don't know if y'all are for real, or you just like, you don't think before you say things, or like it doesn't have as much of an impact on you as it does for other people. So like you're only seeing it at the surface level of things. I don't know. Women had to settle for men before because men were an essential part of our survival. Because we were not allowed to be autonomous human beings. We were not allowed to have our own bank accounts. We were not allowed to have our own jobs. We were not expected to be anything else than a mother and a wife. We live in very, very different times now. A man is not a necessity. So if you're a woman who wants a relationship, this is how it works. This is a tier system for that. At the highest tier, you have the man that you want. You have a man who provides tangible things to your life, not just words, empty promises, and dick, actual things that improve your life. You pull your weight in the relationship. That's the first tier. If you want a relationship, that's the ideal, right? The second tier to a peaceful, happy life is to just be alone. Build your own business, become financially stable, have your own passions, have your own friend group, and have maybe like some dick laying around that you use every now and then, but just be alone. Third tier, and that one's all the way down here in hell, is to settle for a man who does not add to your life because you're afraid of being alone. The only women who do that are women who are traumatized. The only women who are going to want to settle for that are women who have not done the internal work on themselves and have not unprogrammed themselves from what they've been taught. Those are women who place their worth on whether or not they are deemed worthy by a man, which is ass fucking backwards. Because, like I've said so many times before, women don't go and watch men dance on poles. Women don't pay men money for their old socks, their spicy fans accounts, for naked pictures of themselves. Women have only been allowed to do things like own homes and have their own bank account and have been encouraged to have their own careers until very, very recently. And even so, we are far surpassing men when it comes to the rates that we're getting college degrees, our home ownerships. In spite of how much men have held us back throughout history, we are still surpassing them. Even though to say they had a head start would be the understatement of the century. It's hard for you guys to fathom being content with being alone because the real gender that needs the other gender is men. We are going to be just fine.
I need coffee before I respond to that. But you knew I was going to have to say something about this. Okay, let's get into it. This is why it's never a good idea for a woman to settle. First of all, when he's talking about 50-50, 60-40, whatever, of course he's only talking about money. Because why is it in these conversations that men never talk about things like household chores or caring for children? Because we know, and I can tell you from practice and my experience, that almost always the woman is doing more of the household chores, even when it's 50-50 financially, even when she earns more. And this is why I caution women about 50-50 relationships. It's not because I'm against them in principle. Like on paper, it sounds great. You know, you share the financials and then you share all of the other duties equally, and then that makes sense. Only in reality, it never actually happens that way, even when they go into it thinking that that will be the plan. What ends up really happening is that everything always needs to be done to the man's standard, for better or worse. So that means that if his standard is, let's say, pretty low when it comes to cleaning and tidying, that is the standard that he will apply in your home together. And he won't care if you want things done to a better standard. He'll just be like, well, if you want it done better, you do it yourself. But when his standards are high, he will expect that you rise to those standards. No more will it be like, oh, well, if he wants it done that way, then he should do it himself. And the typical example is cooking. Like, how many times have you heard from wives saying that when their husbands are away for work, dinner is so much easier because they don't have to cook a full meal? And this dynamic is magnified when a couple has children. And so even when they were sort of sharing things around the house, as soon as children come along, it's like the woman is bearing the load of that. So instead of men coming on here telling women that they need to lower their standards, why don't men come on here and tell their brethren that they need to raise their standards in the house? If you are a man and you cannot afford to support a wife and children on your salary alone, then you better learn how to cook and clean and do them properly. Maybe men should be making videos on how they cook and clean. Because if the only value prospect that men want to bring to the table is money, then they can't blame women if that is the measure by which we will assess them. And then they can't get mad if they fall below the standard that women want. So this is why it's never really in a woman's interest to settle, because she's literally just better off on her own, because if she's going to have to earn the money and support herself anyway, at least she doesn't have to do double the work at home.
Sir, are you okay? Because first off, not realizing that choosing no one is a viable option is sad. It's kind of sad. Somebody said, and I'm going to try and remember who it was so I can tag them, but somebody said that men don't believe women can choose to be single because they don't choose to be single, because men are not single by choice. Sad. That's sad, right? What a self-own. It's not the 1950s. I don't actually have to settle. I literally don't have to settle because I can have a credit card. I can own a home. I can even drive a car. I can even out-earn many men. Now I have 50 cents stuck in my head. But back to it. People forget that like sperm banks exist. If I want to have a child and don't want a man, I actually can do that. If I want to have a career and a home, I don't need a man. And for a lot of men, they are forgetting that now you have to be likable. So their whole thing is, oh, you have to work twice as hard for a woman half as good. No, you just have to be a reasonable adult. You have to do what every other adult does, which is, earn their keep on this planet, right? You need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to not be a mama's boy who needs me to spoon feed you everything. And you need to be an adult like I am. That's the bare minimum. And these men who aren't they're not meeting the bare minimum are saying, well, because I'm not reaching your bare minimum, you should lower your standards if you want to find someone. Do you know who it benefits for you to lower your standards? Them. The people who couldn't reach your standards in the first place, right? It benefits the people who couldn't reach your standards in the first place. So their strategy right now is to resurrect the story that you need a man, A, and B, that because you need one, if you're going to get one, you need to lower your standards because heaven forbid you don't have one. A fallacy, because they've yet to prove that you need one, right? If point A has to exist for point B to exist, where is point A? Where is the proof that you need one? That's not to say men are useless. That is not a fair statement. And that's not the statement I'm making. What I'm saying is that men like this don't understand what partnership is. I would love someone to survive the capitalist hellscape. I say it all the time. It's easier when you're not alone. But if I'm in a relationship with someone I have settled for, who isn't going to be a reasonable adult, who isn't going to be a partner, I've gained nothing. He's gained everything. He has someone to cook and clean, all that stuff. I've gained nothing. Some of these men are saying, oh, well, then, even in his video, watch the video, Stitch. Like, I hate to give it views, but watch it. Because he goes on to say, yeah, if you want to find a man, then you're going to have to revisit this 50-50. You might have to go 60-40 on your end. And I'm thinking, wait a second. So now I'm paying for a man to be with, No, it doesn't benefit us. It doesn't benefit us at all. Getting you a partner is what you want. And if you can't find one, first of all, community exists. Friends, family, that all exists. You don't have to be alone. Romantic love is different from self-love, from platonic love. I get that. But you're not alone. So if it only benefits those men, then they are going to say, fine, enjoy your cats. Yeah, at the end of the day, sure, you might have found someone, but you're going to be miserable. You're going to be unhappy. Maybe you'll even get divorced, and what a waste. What a waste of time and energy. Is this your goal? No. The goal is happiness, fulfillment, contentment. Do whatever in life brings you those things. Joy. And if you want a partner so desperately that you're willing to forego those things, then that's up to you, right? You do that. But don't listen to the people who are in the background saying, you're better off with a man who asks you where the scissors are when he's looking right at them instead of a cat. Because I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I don't think you do either. And there's a reason why they keep making these videos. It's because they need you to be desperate enough to be with them. And again, to my original point, how sad. How embarrassing.
Honest question. Why do women have to settle? Why do they even have to tolerate men? That's an honest question. Men, we're obsessed, man. We're like threatening women with loneliness and being an old cat lady and all of that. They're on their mind and their own goddamn business. Did you know that the majority of women right now simply have standards that if you don't approach them and bring something of value, they're simply not interested in you? Why does that piss men off so much? Honest question. Why do women have to settle? Why can't we either bring enough to the table for them to say, okay, you bring enough value, instead of you bring a whole bunch of baggage and maybe, whatever's in your pants that you want me to put in my mouth or whatever it might be that your offer is. Your offer ain't that interesting. So the question is, why? Why the fuck do women have to settle? Why not just go, okay, I can handle everything on my own. I don't need you as a friend. Hell, you don't even want to be my friend. You're scared of the friend zone. So men aren't trying to be friends, right? So women have enough friends. They ain't lonely. All right. They got a machine in the nightstand that'll make her feel more amazing than you will. I mean, they like the smell of your cologne. They can buy that shit and sprinkle it on their... what are you bringing, man? I'm not trying to insult you personally, this dude. I'm not trying to insult the man watching this video. I'm asking an honest question. Why are men so hardcore bound to making women want to settle? Is it because y'all know you don't bring much? I didn't bring much when I started dating. I guarantee you that. I had to develop something so that my wife that I have now actually sees me as valuable. I didn't ask her to lower her standards. I raised mine. So an honest question to men. Why do women have to settle? Why can't you either get better or leave them alone? Being alone is not a threat to women. Maybe it isn't to men. So if you're the one that's afraid of being alone, maybe you need to work on yourself.
I'm going to take a slightly different approach than the many wonderful stitches I've seen of this video. I think I'm beginning to understand why they don't believe us. Because it's that men and women are talking past each other right now to such a degree that it's like we're having two totally different conversations. Men are like, if you don't settle or at least give us grace to improve ourselves, then you're going to be single. And women are going like, we know, we've accepted that. And they're like, but you're going to be single though. Here's why they genuinely think that this is a bluff and that if they just keep pushing, we'll eventually relent. Our whole lives, women have studied men. We've studied men because we've been told that romantic proximity to men is a thing that's going to give us meaning and purpose and validation. Most of us have earned a damn PhD in how to make men want us. We've also been told that men are our greatest predators, so we spent lots of time learning how to read men for our own safety. Top that off with the fact that the vast majority of media that we have consumed has been the story of cishet white men doing variations of their hero's journey, like we've seen it all. We know them so thoroughly, and they have never had to invest in learning us. Instead of learning what we're actually really about, they project all of their feelings and their motivations and their manipulation onto us. So when we say we would rather be single than to settle for a man who doesn't see us as an equal partner, they think we are just trying to manipulate them into being in a relationship with us because we still really want that relationship. And they think that because they are always in a position of manipulating us. There's almost no man that brings the same heat to the second 6 months of a relationship as they do to the first 6 months, right? Whether they even recognize it or not, there is some degree of manipulation in the way that most men date. I think this is a game of poker, and that if they keep saying, you need to just settle for us, that we're eventually going to fold and settle for them. What they don't get is that a significant portion of us have actually spent the last several years grieving the idea of a romantic relationship. We have entered the acceptance phase where a lot of us have accepted that our biggest, brightest, most exciting life might very well be a single life. Many of us have accepted that even if we do date again, we are not going to make it the main course of our lives. It's going to be a side dish. We have seen and internalized all the data that says single women are happier, healthier, and wealthier than married women. We no longer expect to be the exception to that because enough of us have partnered with men who were better than the average guy, expecting that we would be the exception, only to find out that we weren't. Many of us are past the denial stage of grief when we are into the acceptance stage. They're calling our bluff, thinking that we're gonna lay down a hand with nothing in it. We're laying down motherfucking royal flushes. Because during this time that men have been panic gorging on red pill podcast bro content, we have been building big, beautiful, connected lives that don't have a man-shaped hole in them. I'm just sitting here waiting for the day that men are finally gonna get it so that they can start their grieving process, so that they can realize that the relationship they think they're entitled to is not going to exist anymore. Only then will we see men make any sort of real change on a mass scale. And in their interim, we're just like,
some of y'all ladies gonna have to settle.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but what I do know is I just found out my great uncle died. I thought he was dead years ago. I'm talking about 15, 20 years ago. That should kind of tell you how much we communicated. His kids are all in jail, and he died at the hospice in the homeless rescue mission alone. Last year, my mom's brother, he died. And he was born in 1963, 64, and nobody discovered his body until 3 days later. He was a heavy drinker. He used women. He used everybody. And he fell over in the bathroom, hit his head on the toilet. He died. He died in his apartment alone. He wasn't married. He had one kid that he didn't help raise, and he died alone. But I'm my mom's only child, and I just drove 13 hours to come and see her. Seems like the women ain't the ones that need to be worried.
Somebody gonna have to settle, man. That's all I'm saying. All the straight men that's left in the world, a lot of them is in jail. A lot of them married. What do that leave left? Everybody can't have they cake and eat it too. Like, you can't have the best of the best. Sometimes you gotta just go for what you got and be happy and be grateful. Because you can have nothing at the end of the day and be miserable. Come on now.
What is left to say? I'm so excited to hear how people shared their thoughts to clear this misconception that, these thoughts arose. I don't want to attack the person, but I was feeling, how could he think this way? Oh my goodness. So I was feeling so irritated by this, but I'm glad that women and men also had a different approach to it. And I'm so glad to that. And this should be challenged, This kind of misconception is a notion that perpetuates harmful stereotype and undermines the value of healthy relationship that is based on mutual respect and capability. he was among the perfect men that he listed that are in jail. Are you in jail or are you taken? So I don't want to get so much into him, but I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your thoughts. I respect this creator. Being able to share your thoughts, it has brought to light so many things. And yeah, I know you're not the only one who's thinking this way, but women are not always looking for men to settle with. You know, contentment is something that people should have before even jumping into a relationship, because you need to be whole. And yeah, the way women used to be viewed in those contemporary society, it's gone. We are living in a new era that you need to embrace and work hard. Yeah, women aren't there to tolerate everything. They are not there to settle for less because they know what they're worth. That's the challenge that guys are having right now, and it's a hard thing. It's so hard for them. No, not to everyone, you know. A man who really knows who they are, they shouldn't be threatened by a woman who is settled already, because we are not looking for settlement after all. Yeah. I'm glad you watched this extent. Goodbye for now.